Hey everyone, I'm Karen Jackson and welcome to Chat with Sandy and Karen. And I am with my co-host,
Sandy Bangle.
I'm Karen Jackson, and there we go. And we have a very special guest today. We Daren White is our guest, and we are just really happy to have you. And Daren, so tell us how you're doing and a little bit about yourself.
Oh, thanks, Karen. Yeah, I'm doing okay, thanks. It's the Easter holidays here in the UK. It's the last weekend for me. We have it staggered, so some schools had the last 2 weeks, and some schools had last week and next week. So we're back to work on Monday. So I've just been taking it easy, really. Having my bathroom refitted, which is really nice because I've had I've had a bath for 22 years. I don't mean I've been in the bath for 22 years because obviously I'd be very wrinkly, or more wrinkly than I am. But I've now got a shower, and being 6'5" and being able to stand under a shower and actually get in there is brilliant because I've never been able to fit in the bath.
Well, that's great. I claim 6'5" as well, but most people think I'm about 5'3".
Yeah, it's deceptive though, isn't it?
Yeah, it's something to do with the visual illusion. I don't know.
Absolutely. That's what I tell the kids at school. They say, "Why are you so tall?" I say, "I'm not. You're just very short."
There we go.
Yeah. But no, I'm all good. Like, it's been a nice couple of weeks. Weather's been a bit all over the place here in the UK. We had last week, it went up to sort of 24, 25 degrees. And I finally got the opportunity to go out and play golf when I was in shorts and a t-shirt, and being ginger, got a tan, probably just from getting out of the car. And then the last couple of days, we've had sort of like 1 degree and 2 degrees, and today it's only about 5 degrees. So yeah, it's a little bit all over the place at the moment. But
so you're getting all 4 seasons together, like within a week.
Yeah, I think it's to give us something to do. Because you know what us British people are like, we're talking about the weather, and with nothing else much going on, apart from dear old Prince Philip, obviously.
Yeah.
God bless him. With not a lot else going on, I think the weather's been trying to help us out with some conversational stuff, which is nice. You know.
Yes.
I think one day Karen's going to understand our metric weather system.
Yeah, I was thinking about that the other day. I was talking to, I can't remember who it was actually. It was somebody from Global GEG, and we were talking temperatures. And I suddenly remembered that probably until I was about 15, I did everything in Fahrenheit.
No, really?
Yeah. I remember as a kid going, oh, like it's 72 today and it's 83 and things like that. And then I've got no idea when suddenly everything switched. I should research it really, I suppose, but for some reason, just started talking in centigrade or centigrade first and then Celsius, and I still don't fully understand the difference and why it had to change.
I can't do the math. As a matter of fact, I had already just pulled up a tab that says that 14 degrees centigrade is 58 Celsius. That's what it's like right now.
And it's a bit warmer than here then.
Yeah. And we're going to go up to 24 today.
Nice. Yeah,
wow.
We're on the way back down.
Beautiful day.
I think we've just gone to our highest about 7.
Wow. Ooh. Is everyone out in their shorts with their sunglasses?
Barbecues.
Why not?
That's right.
Is it barbecued fish though in Sweden? Is it more fish and things like that?
No, they love their meat here. Well, neighbour's always out, even in the winter when it's snowing. If the sun is out, he's got his barbecue going.
Oh, yum! That's great.
Way to do it.
It must be originally from ancestors in Texas. I'm thinking we barbecue all the time.
No, one day a year.
Oh yeah. I barbecue literally as soon as it gets warm enough. I barbecue every day if I can. Because why cook indoors?
It keeps the house cooler.
Yeah.
All the heat stays outside.
Yeah. And you get to play with fire.
Yes. Fire.
Which, as a former Boy Scout, I love that. I've never grown out of that.
What's your best memory from Boy Scouts?
Oh, I was in the Sea Scouts, so we used to do a lot of rowing and a lot of canoeing.
Sea Scouts.
Yeah.
Wow.
So aside from sort of capsizing on numerous occasions, we used to scull a whaler. So we had a massive whaling boat that was about 20 foot long, and I used to scull it with one oar, which was just quite cool because one tiny little oar moving a massive great boat around when I was like 12, 13 was pretty cool to me.
Wow.
And you're always the tallest kid.
Oh yeah, and always the first up in the morning to get the fire going, trying to start it from the embers from the night before. So that's probably my funniest memory. Actually, is probably when I burnt my eyelashes off.
Oh my goodness! You're not supposed to use lighter fluid.
No, I didn't. I got too close. I was blowing on the old fire triangle. I was blowing on the embers to get them going first thing in the morning, and a gust of wind came up and it blew the flames in my face, and it curled my eyelashes to the point that they started to work like Velcro. So when I blinked, they got stuck, and then you had to forcibly open them again.
How terrifying!
You live and learn, don't you? Trial and error and all that. Fell fast and fell forward.
I believe I would let other people start the fire in the morning for a couple days.
It's all good. It's all good.
So live and learn. Daren, tell us about your project. You're an innovator.
Yes, I am. And as of yesterday, also a Google certified coach, which is fantastic.
Whoa.
Yeah, got the email through. It was about 7 of us got the email through. We're the first cohort to go through the Google certified coaching program in the UK. So really exciting to be part of that as well. So I've got the full set of badges now. So as part of VIA 20, very, very fortunate to be selected for the first ever virtual academy. I think had it not been virtual, I wouldn't have applied because I just wouldn't have been able to justify it this year in terms of the travel and the time out of school and everything else. But then when COVID came around and made things a lot more accessible and the world got a lot smaller, I just thought, you know what, there's no better time than to throw my hat in the ring. Didn't expect to get selected and did. So was over the moon of that. And it's been a fantastic experience for those people who haven't been through it. Obviously you apply with a problem or an issue that you'd like to come up with a solution for, but you don't go with a solution. And that was quite hard. I like to have ideas in my head. And I like to have sort of like 3 or 4 plans and then kind of work towards one of them. It was quite difficult at the early stages to kind of not become too attached to one particular idea or one particular approach or something that you feel comfortable with. But basically my statement that I wanted to solve, if you like, was how can we encourage all staff, not just long-standing members of staff, but anybody who's working in a school that is frustrated or fearful of technology. How can we help them to gain confidence in a way that suits them? Because I've been teaching for 23 years now, and I've seen a lot of different approaches to CPD, and I'm very vocal about the fact that some of it is sort of one touch. Here we go. We've had a great day. We've all really enjoyed it, but we never revisit it again. Or it's directed at certain people, but it's not directed at everyone, or it's not even relevant to some people. I had Abid Patel on my podcast a few weeks ago, and we were talking about some training that he and some of his colleagues went to, and they were all school office staff and administration staff and things like that. And the trainer came over to their table and said to them, right, so this is how you can infuse your maths learners. And they were kind of like, great, but I haven't got any of those. I've got some letters to type and I've got a server I've got to sort out. So I'm a big believer in CPD being relevant and being about choice as well, and doing and finding out about things that interest you. I think it's called personal development for a reason. So that's where my EdTech buddy came from. I'd previously done a bit of work using Bookcreator, and I created sort of 6 or 7 tutorial guides, if you like, for using G Suite as it was then. And the first book I made was called Too Sweet, so I'm now going to probably have to change that because of workspace and everything else. So yeah, I created sort of 6 or 7 books, and they got really good feedback. Sort of Google Classroom 101 and various other bits and pieces. One on Wevideo. So I thought that was a really accessible platform to use, and through sort of the interviews that you do prior to applying and everything else, what I realized was a lot of the people that I was trying to empathize with, and my target audience, if you like, were very much put off by the idea of an app. They didn't like the idea of something that they really had to log into and had to remember another password for. But they did like books, and they did like the opportunity to do things 3 or 4 times at their own pace when it suited them. So after a little bit of umming and ahhing and chats with my mentor, Stephanie Howe, I decided to basically do it as an app, but through using Bookcreator. So that it's kind of like a bridge between the two, because it works like a book and it looks like a book, and it's online and it looks like a book, but it also works like an app in that you've got a home button, then you've got an advanced button, and you can search and do all the things, but it's all totally clickable and interactive. And I launched originally in October, the first edition, which was for teachers, which was 6 units based on feedback, flipped learning, and then the 4 C's: communication, collaboration, critical thinking, and creativity. And then I think it was mid-December, I launched the school office edition, which is designed around the different tools. So, you know, becoming a master of docs, slides, sheets, mail merge, all those kind of things, and all been really well received. So I started the podcast as well in December, I think it was. I've had 20 episodes now, just taking a break for a few weeks and then coming back with series 2. And that's been brilliant, because it's just been an opportunity to chat with people. And we don't get enough time to talk as teachers. You know, quite a lot of, you know, this year in particular has been, you know, remote and quite isolating for people. But if you're a full-time teacher in the classroom, you might go all day without seeing another adult potentially. And then when you are desperate for a chat, quite often those people want to go home and finish work and don't want to stick around. But also as well, it's isolating in the fact that a lot of new schools and new buildings don't have big staff rooms anymore. They don't necessarily have big departmental offices. So there aren't the spaces where groups of teachers naturally gravitate to and have conversations about, you know, their everyday practice. And I think that's something that we're missing out on. So the opportunity to podcast, I think, is fantastic, because it gives you the opportunity as well to listen, you know, on your way home from work, on your way to work, to reflect on your day. Just ask, you know, pose a few questions that make you think as you're going home or as you're sitting on the train or whatever it might be. So yeah, that's kind of where it came from, and what its intention is. I'm now working on a careers version for students, which is designed basically to help students bridge the gap between using technology in an educational environment and then using it professionally. So, you know, things like getting rid of your sexykitten777@hotmail.com email addresses, and, you know, how to make sure you reply professionally in an email and don't reply all saying thanks, that was great. And, you know, all these kind of things that, yes, students within education do have email and they understand how it works, but it's a very different animal, if you like, in the business world. And then looking at how the skills they've learned through education then can be applied to a business perspective. So that's kind of like next on the roadmap, if you like.
Right.
Yeah.
I've always thought that teachers are program managers. And so in the business world, you have a program manager who is in charge of the various stages of projects, and they are in charge of reminders and I always thought that some kind of a chart, a Gantt chart or something like that would be helpful for teachers.
Definitely.
Because they are using that kind of skill of planning, pre-teach and teaching, and then remediation, and then assessment, and all those stages have to be done in order to find out if the students are really learning.
No, I completely agree. Yeah.
That's great. That's wonderful. Can make
I actually, I've made a lot of use of Trello throughout my project, and I use Asana for a couple of other things as well, just to keep things separate, but also to try and use some different tools so I stay in touch with the developments in each. But I find that kind of Kanban board approach really useful in terms of, what needs doing, what's in process, and what's done in its simplest form. But like you say, giving you the opportunity to kind of just project plan all the way through, I think is something that all too often, some of the things that work really well in industry don't make their way to education, or they make their way there far too late. And I think that's something that people can take a lot from.
And as new teachers, it took me about 4 years to realize that. At first it was just basic survival. I was just trying to make it through each day, and I would cry when I drive home every night. Because I felt so sorry for those kids. I knew I just really wanted them to learn more than I thought they were learning. But as you really, in that respect, I think the students understand that you care, and they as you get better, and with each year, most teachers do, and we just hope that we can keep them hanging on more than 3 years, because then I think they put it all together, and they find their success.
Yeah, and that's where that engagement is so important, and the opportunity to try different things or the same things in different ways, I think is vital. This year, I've been absolutely blown away by the students I've worked with in terms of how well they've coped and adapted to, primary schools less so perhaps because they tend to have, one or two teachers, whereas at secondary, they might have 20 different members of staff. And if they're having back-to-back online lessons, they can be going from one lesson where they're using, Pear Deck, to another lesson where they're using Nearpod, to the next lesson where they're using Jamboard, to the next lesson where actually they've just got to write their own notes on paper, and they're having to adapt on an hourly basis, sort of 4 or 5 times a day, as well as solve all their own technical issues, like why can't they hear, and why isn't the sound playing, and what's everybody else looking at because I can't see that. So I think there's been the one thing that really bugs me is there's a media frenzy around catch up and lost learning, and I take umbrage with that phrase, because it's not lost learning, it's different learning. They've learned a huge amount. They've learned how to survive a pandemic, first of all, how to get through nearly a year without being able to do any of the things they would normally do to relax with their friends. Those students who are in college now in sixth form have had to go into sixth form without having sat their GCSEs. They've never done a formal exam, yet they're now heading towards their A levels, and that's scary, So all of these things, the year 6s going into year 7 have had to come into year 7 from primary school without having that final kind of enjoyment of being the oldest year group in the school and having the responsibility that they get afforded to them at that stage. And then they come in at the bottom again and kind of recognize what it's like. So I like I say, I've been absolutely blown away by the attitude of the students, the resilience of the students. And I've certainly noticed that their problem-solving skills have grown exponentially. Yes, they might not remember, the key dates and the key people in, 1066 and the Battle of Hastings or whatever it might be. But if they've got a problem now, they've got an idea of how to go about fixing it, and they've become, I think, a lot more creative. And more importantly, and I'm talking a lot, so apologies. I think they've relearned, well, maybe relearned's the wrong word. I think they've realized what it's like to be bored. So whereas in the past you would get, I'm bored, I'm bored, I'm bored. It wasn't that they were bored. they were used to having something to do all the time, and they were just anxious for the next thing, which is different to boredom. Now I think they probably fully appreciate what boredom is really like, and the fact that that can be a positive thing, because that's where the creativity comes from. So I think there's for all the negatives that we've had through sort of COVID-19 and the last sort of 18 months, I think there's some tremendous positives that have come out of it. And hopefully we'll have a generation of students who really flourish off the back of it. That's
it's true what you say. No, it's true, Daren. I mean, you're our guest on our show. The show is all yours. Talk as much as you want.
You might regret that.
The positives, like I not just in the UK, I think I've heard it from a lot of countries that they reckon there's going to be a big knowledge gap with this generation of kids in the school because they've lost out. But I see it the flip side, like you said, they're at home, they've got issues, they've got problems with their hardware or software, or they've got to think about doing other things. They have to problem solve. Oh, I can't go to the shop. I need this. How do I do this now? I think Karen and myself, we're very strong ambassadors and advocating females in technology. We want the girls in there. And the number of girls that are now problem solving their own technology, I mean, we're looking at all of these girls are going to be like, yeah, I can sort this out, no problems. You know, we're looking at that positive part.
Yeah,
absolutely. And, diversity in general is an issue in the edtech world. But there's some people out there doing some amazing things and championing the cause of not just women, but also young people, and also, different ethnic minorities. Lawrence Tijani, for example, is doing some fantastic work around more inclusive representation in this field. But it's like anything. If young people don't see people that they align to, if you like, or kind of
relate to,
then why would they even consider it as a career? And I think more so than ever, I think it's important that we're honest with our students. And I don't just mean teachers, but I mean everyone in school, and parents and everyone. Be honest about, your careers and our decisions, because, the number of kids I speak to are sort of 13, 14, and they're saying, I've got people on my back because I need to decide what I want to do with my life. And I'm like, I didn't know till I was like 21 what I wanted to do. I just did what I enjoyed until I made a decision. And there's a huge amount of pressure out there. But equally, the chances of anyone, I think, now going into a career and staying in that career throughout their entire working life, bearing in mind that for a lot of people now, that's talking working till you're 70, so potentially 50 plus years of working. I don't see very many people managing to do that in one career, or at least in one direction in one career, without a side hustle or a massive change of direction here, or a complete change there, or going off on a tangent. And the more that we explain to students our own journeys, I think the more they understand that what they need to be able to do, and for me, what education is all about, is they need to be able to grow so that they can cope with anything. And
right.
I can't remember who it was I was talking to, but it was very, very recently. And it's one of those things where it's not about, qualifications and what you do. When people ask you what do you do and you introduce yourself, quite often, I'll say, I'm a teacher, or I'm a learning technologist. And then they'll say, what's that then? And I'll say, well, I'm a teacher that works with technology, But actually, I think more and more we should be saying, we should be of the mindset, well, what do you do? Anything that's thrown at me. Because at the end of the day, we work to provide for ourselves, for our lives and our families and everything else. If we enjoy it, great. If you enjoy your job, it's not really like working, except obviously you get paid for it, which is lovely. But you've got to have that aspect of you can't just pigeonhole yourself anymore, because if you do, you quickly become obsolete. We talk about being lifelong learners, and we are, but when you're talking to students in school, I wonder how many of them recognize what careers have gone before for the people that are standing in front of them, and how much people talk about previous careers, or whether there's this kind of obsession in education that you kind of feel like you need to show that you're the font of all knowledge and you're an expert in that field. And if you say that you've done something else previously, or you did this before, you always get that, oh, what, so you became a teacher because anyone can teach kind of mentality that gets thrown around as well. So I think there's a little bit of a balance to be had there. But yeah, I mean, I'm always very honest with my students. They're very aware of what I'm doing in terms of the Innovator project with my edtech buddy. And what's really nice is they always ask. I ask how it's going, which is nice. Some of them are, subscribe on YouTube, which is brilliant. And some of them have come in and say, oh, sir, I watched your video on this the other day for my business coursework, and I was able to do this with Google Sheets. And I'm like, that is brilliant. That's fantastic. Yeah. But also they can see that potentially that's a career. It is likely for them that they're going to be conducting their lives largely through technology. Not 100%, but I'm sure there's going to be a lot more working from home. There's going to be a lot more video calls, a lot less of let's get 30 or 40 people traveling from all over the company to a conference and paying for everyone to stay overnight and everything else, when actually we can do it virtually and make much more use of that time to greater effect and greater impact.
Right. I was going to say 15 years ago, how many people made their living on YouTube?
Cool.
Not very many. And now the students that are here now could take this kind of learning or this kind of experience off into other job situations that we don't even know about. So I think that young people don't understand that, or maybe my generation doesn't understand that once you make that choice, and whether you're taking your exams in school or after you graduate, it's not forever. That you can go in one direction, and like you said, take a tangent and end up working in another. I think very few of us nowadays start a job and then finish and retire with the same job.
No, absolutely. I mean, when I started teaching, I fully expected, because it was what would happen, that probably you'd retire around about the age of 50, because that's what most teachers did when I was at school. Teachers retired about 50. And I'm now like 5 years off that, thinking, not a chance, no way. But I'm also thinking, well, I'm 25 years off of retirement now. Do I want to still be stood in the classroom, 25 lessons a week when I'm nearly 70? Actually, as much as I love being in the classroom, what I'm asking myself is, am I the right person at that age to be stood in front of a classroom doing that? Am I going to engage 11-year-olds as well as somebody else might by that stage? I doubt it very much.
I think.
Oh, go ahead, Sandy.
No, I was going to say, I think it's harder as technology educators here. Imagine, if I had a history teacher in front of me and he was like 60 odd, 70 odd years old, you could see that.
Yeah.
A technology teacher who's going to be programming or teaching us up to date information. I can't see myself in that boat either. Things change. And I think I always argue with my superiors and say, hey, look, teachers have X amount of time to teach, but I'm not like your maths teacher. I'm not like your English teacher. I need to study to make sure I'm on top of things.
Yeah.
For the kids, I need to be up to date.
Yeah, because algebra don't change. Yeah. No, exactly.
That's true.
Yeah, no, it's a very fair point. I'm a language teacher as well, so it's similar in that respect, that language is constantly changing by the nature of our language because of travel and dialect and everything else. So yeah, there's an element there. You've got to stay up to date with what is current, what is being said, what is current phraseology in that language, and there's constant learning and training you have to do. But that doesn't ever get factored into the PD agenda. If you know what I mean, when schools publish their CPD timetables and calendars and things like that, very rarely is there kind of personal time to explore what you want to explore for yourself. And that's something I think schools could really, really benefit from, and giving people a percentage of their time, whether it's 20%, 10%, whatever it might be, and say, explore your passion project, explore something you're really passionate about, because then you're going to throw yourself into it. And the only proviso is that then converts into some impact for the school, whether it's through a study, whether it's through a different approach, whether it's through a project, whatever it might be. But if you empower people to follow what they're passionate about, I think, firstly, it's great for goodwill. And secondly, you get very, very enthusiastic people teaching, which is what you want at the end of the day. But
Sure. It's the passion that hooks. Yeah, it hooks people.
Yeah.
If anything, I think this pandemic has brought out a lot of skills and a lot of online teaching apps, some tools. It's just hard to keep up to date with everything.
Absolutely, and some of the time that's part of the fun of it, in that it is hard to keep up, but that's a bit of a challenge in itself. And amongst the trainer community and the innovator community, and as well in the coaching community, there's always that little bit of kind of who's going to be the first one to get something, who's going to be the first one to make a video about that, who's going to get access first. And but what's nice is we all have a laugh about it, and it's just like, whoever gets it first, good on you, fantastic. What have you found out? What are the pitfalls? What do I need to know so that I can help other people? And I think that's what it's all about. I think the whole GEG community, whether it's educators, trainers, coaches, or innovators, it's all about how you can improve things for other people.
Yeah.
Which is, what I'm all about, really.
Absolutely. And the best thing is when you have students come back and tell you that you have made an impact, whether it's if they're adults or if it's just a week later, I think that they really appreciate us taking an interest in them and sharing what we know and our excitement about new tools or changes, and that's contagious, I think.
Oh, absolutely. And that's why I love working with staff so much as well, because quite often we as teachers, we teach students all the time, and then we get the opportunity to teach each other, and sometimes we don't necessarily walk the walk. We talk the talk, and we say, oh, you need to deliver engaging lessons, but we do that by standing at the front of a hall in front of 30 people and telling them to deliver engaging lessons rather than actually doing it. That's why I love the coaching has been fantastic. So I've just completed, as I said, the 6-month Google coaching program for certification, and as part of that, we have to complete coaching cycles from start to finish with individuals within our schools, and it has been so enjoyable and so rewarding, because I've been working with different people I've never really worked closely with, and people that I've worked very closely with over the years. Some people that I've only known for sort of 2 years, some people that I've known for nearly 20. But just working one-to-one with them with no judgment, but just, okay, what is it that you're trying to achieve? How might we do it? How do you feel about it? Are you comfortable doing it? And if the answer's no, well, then I'll do it the first time and you can watch me do it. Then the next time we'll team do it. And then the next time you do it, but I'll be there if you get stuck. And we gradually build it up and we build the confidence that way. And it's really taken me back to when I did my teacher training a long, long time ago. I did my first bout of teacher training in Eltham in South London, at a school called Crown Woods. And one of the other teachers that I worked very closely there was a guy called Alfonso, who sadly I've lost contact with. But He was a great guy, and we used to team teach a lot of lessons as part of my PGC course. And I absolutely loved team teaching because you had the opportunity to bounce off of each other, but you also had the opportunity of a brain break yourself. You weren't the only person being called upon. You could say, right, okay, I'm going to take this part of the lesson. If you can follow it up with that part, once you've done your bit, you can take a step back, reflect, look at the impact it's had, see whether you need to revisit any of it, or go and help people individually that may not have caught exactly what you needed them to, while the other person's picking up the mantle, if you like, and then you just keep that flowing. But then you share the planning, you share the marking, and I think it's something that really, because of budgets and everything else, it's a real shame there's not more of it that goes on. And quite often these days, people coming into teaching just get given a timetable and go on in the deep end, learn. And the coaching approach is fantastic because it is about finding what they are motivated to solve, rather than, right, we've got this new thing and we want you to use it. And then them saying, well, okay, but how do I use it? How is it relevant for my department? How is it relevant for me in my teaching? What this is about is, what is it that you are finding frustrating? What is it that you would like to improve on? And what are some of the ways that we can both go away and research and find out about some potential solutions, try some out, select one, implement it, and then review it afterwards. And it has been truly rewarding. I've really thoroughly enjoyed it, and I can't wait to get started on the next cycle with the new round of coachees. And I'm very fortunate as well that I've been asked to mentor some of the applicants on the next round of the coaching program in the UK. So I'm very fortunate to mentor a couple of people who are going through what I've just gone through as well. So yeah, yeah, really, and so valuable.
Yeah, it's just something you also mentioned, new teachers coming in. We had a guest a couple of weeks ago, Emil, a teacher who's graduated last summer. So he's in Sweden, and he said exactly the same thing. It's not really taught a class like physically. It's all been online and being thrown in the deep end, where it's like, go ahead, teach. And he's trying to grab all the resources and tools to make his students understand him, because we all know with the kids, when a teacher comes through halfway during the academic year, they never give a teacher a good time.
Oh no.
So, but
no, and I'll put my hands up. We never did when we were at school. You know, it's one of those things. If you could get away with stuff and you could push it, you would.
Yeah.
But that's part of being a kid.
Yeah, no, but I mean, he's a good teacher, and but thank God he's got good students. Yeah. But it is tough. It's tough on the
absolutely. Yeah, because like you say, not having taught the class in person, you go from one sort of relationship that you have with them online to suddenly completely different dynamic of having them all in the room together. Yeah. And if it's anything like any of my classes, and I've said very openly to some of mine, when we were online, some of them, it was like getting blood out of a stone to get them to talk, get them in a classroom and they won't shut up. Yeah. But it's because they've not been able to talk that they're so desperate to talk now. And it's kind of like, can we get some balance in between the two, please, guys? And they take it all in good heart, and they, laugh about it because they recognize that they're talking too much. And some of them will come up at the end of the lesson and say, really sorry, sir, I probably talked a bit too much there. But it's just great to see everyone again. And to a certain extent, I've embraced that because that's important to these kids. Like, happy kids learn. And if they're miserable, nothing's going in, because all they're thinking about is how miserable they are, and the brain's shutting down, and the psychology behind that, and the amygdala kicks in with, your fight and flight and everything else. They're not going to learn anyway. So to a certain extent, I've been a little bit these last couple of weeks towards the end of term. Yeah, we're going to do a bit of recapping of learning. We're not going to learn anything new yet. We're going to have a lot of fun. We're going to have a lot of opportunity to talk to each other, to work in pairs, in groups and things like that, socially distanced as much as possible, obviously, but actually just give them the opportunity to get back into a physical space with others, because that brings its own challenges. And if you're a new teacher coming in since September, you've had that one relationship online where you might have some kids who are always answering in the chat, and you think, oh, brilliant, they're fantastic, they're my go-to kids. In class, they might not say boo to a goose because they might be frightened to speak up in front of other people. The kids who are really quiet online because they don't get the technology or they just don't like that kind of approach might suddenly be your loudest voices in the classroom. And that's a whole different ballgame. And all of a sudden, you have gone through maybe 6 months of feeling like, yeah, I'm getting the hang of this, to suddenly back to square one. Oh my God, I can't control a classroom of students. Well, we're all feeling like that. So don't beat yourself up over it, you know.
Okay, so going on to that, sorry, Karen.
No, I was just saying that's so true. It's day one. We're coming back. That's exactly right.
I think they're all going to be excited first. No one's going to control the class. I think it's just going to be the happiness. Kids want to be at school now.
Yeah,
and rightly so. That's what they deserve it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, definitely. What's your favorite tool out there then, Daren? Which one can you learn about?
Oh, blimey.
You only have one on a desert island with your internet.
Wow, I've only got one. Well, if I can only have one, I would say I'm going to class Workspace as one because it's singular. It's Google Workspace. Okay. Linguist at work. Yeah, so I'll go with Workspace on the basis I think I could probably, given enough time, recreate anything I wanted to using Workspace. That might take a little bit more time and a lot more frustration, and maybe relying on trial and error a lot. But yeah, if I had to narrow it down to one, I think definitely Google Workspace, because there's so much you can do with it. You can do stop motion video, films with Google Slides. You can do all sorts of things with Google Drawings that is for me hugely underrated as a part of Workspace itself. Mind Maps is fantastic. So all of those different elements just give you so many options, I think. So yeah, that's my one.
No, that's good. That's good. It's so versatile.
It is, absolutely. But there's fantastic apps out there, and like you said, Sandy, sometimes there's so much out there. It's very difficult if you are not up to speed. It can feel like everything's getting away from you, and that's where we're fortunate that we're involved in communities where you do get other people kind of bearing that burden a little bit and say, I found out about this, here's that. And I think that schools in general need to develop more of a kind of collegiate approach to that kind of thing. We've made massive use in the last sort of 4 months of Google chat rooms, and that's been a real breath of fresh air because it's not sending an email, so you don't have to worry about being formal and everything else. It's immediate. There's sort of 30 or 40 people in the group, and you don't have to think about who you're sending it to. And you can just share it in there and go, look, guys, I found this. Is it any use to anyone? And suddenly somebody will go, oh, my God, that's amazing. And it's taking you 2 seconds to do it. But if everybody takes 2 seconds, probably everybody saves a couple of hours further down the line somewhere.
Right.
That's my philosophy anyway. It should save you time. If you're doing anything, it should save you time and it should have impact on the kids. Or impact on your work if you're not a teacher, you know what I mean? So.
Is there anything else, Daren, that you wanted to mention that that we haven't touched on? I mean, I know we had notes and we were going to talk about a whole bunch of stuff, but is there something that you would feel bad if we didn't get to talk about right now?
I think one of the things I would say is, this last year has been really, really challenging for so many people. And I think in the past, I don't know what it's like in the US, but in the past in the UK, certainly, and Sandy, you'll probably bear testament to this. There was a real kind of fear culture around social media, where schools would often come up with a social media policy that basically said, as a teacher, you must not be on social media. And that frightened a lot of people off. It scared a huge amount of people. I think it's really important that people recognize that social media is what you want it to be. You know, if you create yourself an anonymous account and you only want to converse with people who enjoy baking, well, then good for you. Like, you don't have to get involved in any other conversations if you don't want to. You find your tribe, find your like-minded wackos, as my friend Luis likes to call them. You know, find those people that you relate to, that you've got something in common with. Find those hashtags that you want to follow, whether it's through LinkedIn, whether it's Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, whatever it might be. I think they're all very different platforms, and I think have very different approaches to them. And certainly I probably post slightly differently in all of them, partly down to the format, partly down to like, you know, character limits and things like that. But I would say I've probably got slightly different focus in each one, but don't be scared of it, because I think, you know, it's a fantastic social opportunity for professional learning, professional growth, and also personal support. And some of the people I've met over the last year through GEG UK, Global GEG, through various different bits and pieces I've done within our trust, and with Google, Canopy, and Apps Events and people like that, I would consider to be some of my closest friends now, even though we've never met in person. And I know that we're of a like mind, you know. But at the same time, we're also prepared to be that critical friend, to challenge each other. If, you know, okay, I can see what you're trying to achieve, but is that the best way of doing it, kind of thing. And I think that's really important for everybody. And I would also say that the PD that you do choose to take part in, if it impacts on your teaching, fantastic. If it impacts on your personal life as well, then it's been really worthwhile. And that's one thing I would say, that having gone through the Innovator Academy this year and through this coaching program, it's massively changed the way I work, the way I approach things, the way I process information, and how I prioritize things. And that's as much in my home life and my family life as it is in my work life. And that has given me a lot more balance, I would say.
Daren, so for this, is it just this training you do for the teachers at your school, or is it open to teachers all in the UK or all over the world? How do you provide training sessions? So
basically, obviously, My EdTech Buddy is available to absolutely anybody. So you can just go to www.myedtechbuddy.co.uk, and you can just get started, and you can earn badges, and there's some great perks from our sponsors. So I'm very fortunate that Mote, IRAD, and Bookcreator came on board as sponsors for graduate perks, which was fantastic. So you can get sort of like a year's free unlimited license with Mote, and a year's discounted subscription to IRAD, which is a great tool if you're trying to teach people how to do things. And Bookcreator obviously is where the product is based in itself. So you can take part in that anytime you like. But I'm also on Buy Me a Coffee as well. So outside of working on schools or working in schools or within my trust, I also do sort of like one-to-one sessions and things like that, and the occasional small group session. So I've got a session next Sunday. I'm running Google Sites 101 just for a small number of people, for people who really want to find out more about how it all works. Because again, that's a really simple tool that is underutilized, and we can really use for showcasing student work, for endless possibilities, really. So yeah, I'm always happy to help people out and do whatever's needed.
Last question, Karen, if you don't mind. I mean, but
no, go.
What's your favorite color?
Purple. I don't know if you've noticed.
I know. I'm sorry. I was stalking you on all your social media accounts.
Yeah.
And your chair.
Yeah, even the chair is purple. I don't know if you can see it. Probably not. There we go. Here we go. I'll lift it up. Look.
It's invisible. There we go.
There we go. It's all purple. I like purple. It's a very very calming colour, I think.
Yeah.
I think it's non-offensive.
Yeah,
if there's such a thing with a colour, I don't even know if there is. I know. But I was like, nobody can get angry with purple, can they?
That's true.
No, it was just it was very good. It was just like purple everywhere.
Yeah, I kind of wanted to stay away from primary colours as well because of football teams and all that kind of stuff. And it looks good with ginger hair, so you know.
Yeah.
At least that's what I tell myself anyway.
Color coordination is very important.
Yeah, and the new mirror in the bathroom, that tells me it looks great. So it was an expensive mirror, but it was worth it. Yeah.
Awesome. That's great.
No, it's been great. It's been great chatting. Really enjoyed it. Like I say, I love these kind of things because these are the kind of conversations that actually quite a lot of the time we don't get the opportunity to do anymore.
Yeah.
Because when I started teaching, this is the kind of conversation that we would have been having in the smoking room, in the staff room. Trying to kind of fight our way through the clouds of smoke to talk to colleagues and things like that. And thank heavens that's all long gone.
Oh, those were the days.
Weren't they just?
Right. Yeah, that's how when we started, we wanted to create something like if we went and met at a coffee shop and what would we talk about? And it sounds to me like your podcast is a similar situation, similar feel to it. So I'm looking forward to subscribing to at We Are Joy FM. Cool.
Yeah, that's the new radio show. Yeah, so that's starting on the 4th of May. I've got the first show, and then so we're gonna have a Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, different focus every night, different presenters every night. But that's another passion project from SJ White, who's no relation but a very good friend of mine. So I'm looking forward to that. So I'm hosting the school show. SJ's hosting the further education show. We've got a IT administrators tech show on a Monday with Dan Manley, Abby Patel, and Dave Leonard from Learning Dust. And probably as well on a Thursday, an open mic night. And we're hoping to get students involved in being part of those shows.
Cool.
Yeah. So looking forward to it.
All right. Sandy, how are you doing? You ready to wrap?
Yeah, well, thank you, Daren, for taking me and joining Daren and myself on the show. We are honoured that you came in and spent valuable time when you could have probably be enjoying your shower, but spending it with us. Like how Karen said, I look forward to subscribing to your podcast as well.
Thank you very much.
And spreading the word. I think you're doing an amazing job. And I will definitely connect with you so you can give me hints and tips about the coaching as well.
And the colour chart.
And the colour chart, yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you to all our listeners out there too. Don't forget to follow us on Twitter at chatwsk1. You can find us and subscribe to our channel on Spotify, Google, and Apple to hear more about what's going on both sides of the pond.
Well, thank you so much, Daren, and thank you, Sandy, and to our listeners, thank you very much, and we'll talk at you next week. Bye-bye.
See you next week.
Bye, everyone.